Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing very well. In today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to read a crochet graph and how to make this cherry book sleeve with a crochet graph. So for this book sleeve I'm using 6 different colours. My main colour is going to be white, my cherry colour is going to be red, and then I'm also using a dark red for shadow. I'm also using a brown for like a shadow outline, and green for the leaves and stems, and then I'm going to use pink and white together for kind of some highlights on the cherries. This is all double knit yarn. You don't want your yarn to be different thicknesses, otherwise it's going to look very bumpy and uneven. I'm also using a 3mm hook today, a embroidery sewing needle, some scissors, and this is optional, but you might want to use a stitch marker to mark the front of your book sleeve. So for example, to mark the right side. So I thought I would just explain exactly how this graph is and how to read the graph. So as you can see across here you have your numbers that go horizontally, and then you have your numbers that go vertically. If you are right-handed, I have a right-handed graph in the description below, and also the left-handed graph in a document form as well, so you can refer to it as much as you need to. So I'm using the left-handed graph today, but obviously if you're right-handed, refer to the right-handed graph. It will be basically flipped the opposite way. So as you can see right here in the corner, I have my first row. As you can see, there's the number 1. Each box represents 1 single crochet. So that means that we have 30 single crochets going across that we will make a chain of, and then we have 42 rows. Okay, so all the vertical numbers represent your rows, and all the horizontal numbers represent each stitch of the row. For example, this box right here, this first red box that we see, is the 11th stitch of row 8. As you can see there, it's the 11th stitch because it's on the 11th number, but it's of row 8. So the white is going to represent the background colour. Again, you can change this to whatever colour you want, but I'm just using white. Then I have used black here for the line, but I'm actually not going to be using black today. And I just used black so that you could see the actual colour difference, because when you use brown against this red, it's a little bit hard to see when you're reading the graph. So I've just zoomed you in a little bit so you can see the numbers closer. So an important technique when you're learning how to crochet using a graph is to understand where you are at on the graph and what is going to be your next stitch and then the stitches after that, so that you can kind of get your colours prepared, and then you can have the neatest and like smoothest effect possible. So as you can see here, the first example I'm going to use is this first row where we would use colour. So for the first 7 rows here, as you can see, it's just all white. So it's all rows of single crochet in white up to row 7. Once we get to row 8, we will be changing colour from white to red. We will be changing colour at the 10th stitch of that row. So the 10th stitch of row 8 will be the colour change. Now the colour change basically consists of you doing your stitch, but you do not finish that stitch fully. So for your single crochet, you should leave your 2 loops on the hook, and then you would yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, but with your new colour for the next stitch. You would then do your next 3 single crochets in red, and remember that the next red is sitting next to a white box. So that means that that red will have to be a colour change of white. So you will do your red single crochet, and you will finish that single crochet with the white, and then you'll just do single crochets all the way to the end for the rest of that row. Once you get to the next row, as you can see, we have multiple colours here. We have white, red, and a dark red, and then red again, and then white again. So you would start wherever you're at on the graph. I can't work it out from here, but it's basically like a snake-like position. But let's say we're starting from the left. We would do 5 plus 3, 8 single crochets. On our 8th single crochet, we would finish the stitch with red. We would then do 2 single crochets of red, but finish this red with the dark red. because they're sitting next to each other, which means that it will be a colour change between them. You'll then do your 4 single crochets of dark red, and then you will switch on your 4th single crochet back to the regular red colour. Now, as you can see here, we only have 1 red and then the rest is white. So what do you do when you have a single red next to white? So you would start your single crochet as normal, and then you would finish with the white. So it's basically as simple as, but it can get a little bit fiddly, but don't worry, we're going to work through it. You'll be starting in the bottom left corner. If you're right-handed, you will be starting in the bottom right corner, and your number 1 should be here, and then number 30 should be over here. So please refer to the document for that. We will also be working in kind of like a snake-like motion. So for left-handers, you're going to be working in this point, you'll be doing a row of single crochet, and then you'll stop here and you'll start your row 2 and single crochet across, and then stop here, chain 1 and do your row of single crochet here. Each line, I like to think of it as representing a chain, the chain that gets you from your first row to your second row. So as you can see here, we have a very faint line, sorry it's not very clear, but we have a very faint line in between each box that separates each box. I like to think of this as our chain 1 of the end of the row when we chain 1 and turn the work, because as you can see here, it's between row 1 and 2. So when you think of it that way, it breaks up each box a little bit easier. So you would do your first row of single crochet, you've reached your line here, so you're going to chain 1 and turn the work, and this gets you to your row 2, and then you would just complete the rows as normal. Once you get to the end of this row, chain 1, you've hit that line, so you'll chain 1 and turn the work and start your next row. So as you can see, for the first 7 rows it's just white, so I'm just going to be doing 7 rows of single crochet up until obviously row 7. So I'm going to just quickly show you how I would start. So I'm grabbing my white yarn and I'm making a slip knot. Now the graph tells me that I need to make 30 chains. I'm going to add an extra one though for the turning chain, so it's technically 30 plus 1. So from this point forward, I'm going to have a screenshot of the graph on the screen so that you can follow along with me. So I'm going to start with a chain of 30 because that is what the graph tells me, and then I'm going to add an extra chain at the end. Okay, now I'm going to add my extra chain for that turning chain. So we're going to be working in purely just single crochet for this whole pattern. So you should be confident in single crocheting and single crocheting in rows. So yeah, let's start the first row. So I'm going to start with a single crochet into the second chain from the hook right here. That is our first single crochet. I'm then going to make 1 single crochet into each chain across, and then that should leave me with 30 single crochets, and that will be the end of row 1. Okay, so here are my 30 single crochets, and that is row 1 done. So once you reach the end of your row, like I said before, you'll notice that there is a line separating the first box, the last box and the box above, and that is going to represent the chain 1 that we make. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work. So you'll now be working in the direction that you came from. So before the first row, we were working from left to right, right to left if you're right-handed. For row 2, we'll be working from right to left or left to right if you're right-handed. So that's how it's going to alternate. Once you get to the end of each row, it will be working in the opposite direction that you came from. So for row 2, we've chained 1, turned the work, and I'm also going to weave this end in as I go along, and I'm going to be making a single crochet into each stitch across. So I've now reached the end of row 2, and so I've done 30 single crochets across in white, and as you can see from the graph, it just continues this pattern up until row 7. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work, and this is starting row 3. We're now back at the original position that we started in, working from left to right. And if you are a bit unsure of what is your right side and your wrong side, the wrong side being the back of the work, then you could always place some sort of stitch marker or like hair slide at the front of your work, just so that you can differentiate. But the front of your work should be your neat side. So for row 3 up to row 7, I'm just going to continue this pattern with 1 single crochet into each stitch. Once I reach the end of the row, I'm going to chain 1, turn the work, and then repeat that. So I will come back when I have finished row 7. So I've just finished row 7, and now we're going to begin row 8, where we will be doing 4 single crochets in red. So I have been working the 7th row from left to right, so that means the 8th row is from right to left technically on the graph. Again, the opposite if you're right-handed. So I'm going to chain 1 to start row 8, and because I'm working from the back and I'm working from right to left according to the graph is telling me that I'm going to be doing 16 single crochets in white up until that point. Then we will change to red and do the 4 single crochets there. So I'm going to do 16 single crochets across, and then I'm going to stop and show you how I'm going to change to red. So now I'm going to do my 16th stitch in white. So I'm going to insert the hook into the stitch as normal, yarn over and pull up a loop, and normally we would yarn over and pull through both loops with white, but I'm going to drop the white yarn for the minute. And because we are working from the back, technically this is the back, again mark this if you're unsure at the beginning, because we're working from the back, I'm actually going to drop the yarn at the back so that it's hidden, because we don't want any loose parts showing at the front. We want it to be as neat as possible at the front. So we're going to change to red, and personally what I like to do is cut a long piece off. That way if there are any tangles, it's not like you've got a whole ball of yarn that's tangled at the bottom. I'm going to attach this now. I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to finish the single crochet with the red. So I'm going to attach it to the hook, and I'm going to pull through both loops with the red, like that. As you can see, both of my tails are hidden at the back. So I'm now going to make 3 single crochet using the red according to the graph, and then on the 4th we will be making that colour change back because it is sitting next to a white box. So weaving these ends and carrying this white across, because again we will be changing back to white, I'm going to make 3 single crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to do our 4th and a colour change. Okay, dropping the yarn to the back, picking up the white and bringing that forward, and I'm just tucking this behind as well, and I'm finishing the single crochet with the white. Okay, so they have the colour change, and now I'm just going to leave this red as it is. As you can see in row 2, we're roughly going to be crocheting more red stitches in that vicinity, that area, so I'm going to leave this as it is. If you want to though, as you can see in row 2, the red starts 2 stitches after, so you could carry your red across for 2 stitches, and that way it is in the exact spot that you need it. It's not like necessary though if you're not too fussed about it being super neat at the back, so I'm not going to do that, just to make it easier for you guys. So now, as you can see in the rest of the pattern, it is 10 single crochets across in white just on its own. no colour change. And I am going to weave this red in as I go so that I can just tuck it away, this short tail. So just 10 single crochets up to the So that is row 8 all finished. We're now going to start row 9, and row 9 we will be working according to the graph from left to right. If you're right-handed, it's the opposite, right to left. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. So for row 9 you can see that there is a new colour being introduced, and that is the dark red. So I'm going to get my dark red ready. I'm going to take a long piece and I'm going to cut it, just as I did with the bright red. I'm going to get my slip knot ready just so that it's easier, and I'm just going to set it aside for now because we don't need it yet. So according to the graph, I need to make 8 single crochets in white. So I'm going to change colour on the 8th single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is our 8th. So I'm going to start the single crochet and I'm going to finish it with the red. So we are now at the front of our work. So this is what we will be seeing, you know, when our work is finished. So when we are working, for me, from left to right, and I'm working, you know, across the front, I'm going to be dropping all of my tails at the back, the unneat side. When I'm working on the opposite direction, I'm going to be dropping all my tails towards me. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to pick up the red, so I'm dropping the white and I'm picking up the red like this, and I'm going to finish the single crochet off with the red. Now as you can see here, we have a little bit of a line here, but that's okay because we can cover this up if you are concerned about that and want it to be as neat as possible. And I am going to be carrying my white across because we need it over here according to the graph. So we are now going to be doing 2 single crochet with the red, and we're going to change colour on the 2nd single crochet. So I'm going to insert the hook, and I am going to pick up this kind of red loop that we made and the white. I'm going to do 1 single crochet and then the 2nd single crochet, but I'm going to drop both colours and I'm going to pick up my new colour, attach it to the hook, make sure everything is neat and not too loose, and I'm going to finish the single crochet off with the dark red like that, just tightening everything, making sure it's nice and neat. So now we have like 3 colours on the go. It can get a little bit bulky, and this is your personal choice. If you don't want to carry your colours all the way across, if you just want to do your stitches and then cut the yarn and kind of weave those ends in as you go, you can do that. So if you are going to do that, at this point I would cut the white because we're going to be making the next 5 single crochets with red and dark red. So cut the yarn here if you want to, because it has been weaved in for a few stitches, and then you can always reattach it once you get to the 15th stitch. You can reattach the white, but I'm not going to do that just to make it easier. So the next 4 stitches will be in dark red. So I'm inserting the hook and I'm going to pick up both colours on the hook. So that's 1, that's 2, 3 and 4, and my next colour according to the graph is red, so I'm dropping both colours and I'm picking up the red. I'm going to finish that single crochet off with the red like that, just tighten everything. The next stitch is going to just be 1 red single crochet, and the following stitch after that is a white single crochet. So here I'm going to start my single crochet off as normal, like that. Now normally here I would yarn over, pull through both loops, but because the next stitch is a white, it is a colour change, so I'm going to drop the yarn and finish this stitch off with the white. Okay, so we've just basically done 2 colour changes in a row, so hopefully that made sense for you. The rest of the graph tells me that I need to make 15 single crochets all the way to the end of the row. So here I'm not going to carry any of my red across because I don't need it, but I am going to carry across this little tail just to weave it in. So 15 single crochets. This is the end of row 9, so we're starting to see the bottom of the cherry forming. So we are now going to start row 10. I'm going to be chaining 1 and turning the work. As you can see now, we're working in the back. This is kind of the messier looking side. So all of the ends, all of the tails we'll be picking up for this row, we will be keeping them facing us. So we're not dropping any of them at the front, we're keeping them all at the back to keep them hidden. So according to the graph, I need to make 13 single crochet. So I'm going to come back once I have reached the 13th. I'm not going to complete the 13th stitch with white, I'm going to complete it with the dark red. So I will come back once I have reached this point here. So I've reached my 13th stitch. I haven't completed it because I'm going to be completing it with the dark red. So I'm going to drop the white yarn. I'm dropping it towards me. I'm just holding it there with my thumb. And I'm going to be picking up the dark red. Now it is kind of all the way over here, so we are going to get a little bit of a line there, but we can actually crochet over this, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to yarn over and finish the single crochet with the white, kind of pulling this so that the tension isn't kind of too much here. So you don't want to be pulling it really hard because your tension is going to kind of be thrown off a bit. So just keep it loose and make sure that it's comfortably sitting across, it's not pulling, you know, the pattern. So now I'm going to make the next 8 single crochets using the dark red, and then on the 8th single crochet we will be changing to red. So here's the first one, and notice how I am crocheting over this line. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is the 8th, so this is going to be the colour change. I'm going to drop the yarn now and I'm going to be changing to red, so I'm picking up the red. Okay, like that. And now we're going to make the next 2 single crochets in red, and I'm not going to carry the dark red at this point because, as you can see on the graph, we aren't doing any more red in this row, dark red I mean. So I'm just going to leave this here and I'm going to carry the white across because as you can see, the next lot of stitches will be in white. So 2 single crochet using the red, so 1, and the second one, and the second one is a colour change, so I'm dropping the red and I'm picking up the white. I'm going to tuck this red back as well so it stays hidden. Finish that single crochet with the white and then pull tight, not too tight, but pull tight enough that everything looks neat. So as you can see now, the next 7 stitches are in white and there's no colour changes, so I'm not carrying any more of these across. So I will meet you once I reach the end of this row. So this is what row 10 is looking like from the front. So this is from the back and this is from the front. So once you look at row 11, you can kind of get an idea of where you have your colour change. So at the 6th stitch of row 11, that is a colour change from white to red. And then once you get to the 10th stitch of row 11, that is a colour change from red to dark red. At the 17th stitch, that is a colour change from dark red to black or brown, depending what you're using. I'm using brown. And then you will do one single crochet with that brown or black and colour change to dark red again. The next 3 single crochets in red. At that 3rd single crochet, which is the 21st stitch of the row, you will colour change from dark red to red, and then again single crochet into the next stitch in red, and the 23rd stitch will be a colour change from red to white, and then it will just be single crochet in white until the end of the row. So I hope that makes a bit more sense. I'm going to single crochet into each stitch with colour changes, and I'm going to stop and meet you back once I get to the 17th stitch so that I can show you kind of attaching that new colour again and what it looks like when you have kind of 4 colours on the go. But hopefully now you can get an idea of what colour changing looks like, and paying attention to the graph and what stitches come before and after the graph of the stitch you're at. It's very important to kind of look ahead at your next stitches to see where you'll need to do the colour changes. It can get a bit confusing, but take your time and just refer to the graph. So I will come back once I have reached my 17th stitch of row 11, and then I can kind of show you that colour change again. So I have just reached my 17th stitch of row 11, and this is where we colour change from dark red to brown. So I'm going to attach my brown colour to the hook and finish the single crochet with the brown, and then as you can see it's just one single crochet using the brown, and then we change back to dark red. And now I'm picking up dark red and finishing the colour with dark red. Now in the next 3 stitches it's with dark red, and I don't need the brown anymore for this row, so I'm going to leave it there. I am going to weave in this little tail though, and I am also going to carry across the white because we need that for the end of the row. So 3 single crochet, 1, 2 and 3, and now we're going to be changing to red. Now you might have noticed that I didn't carry across this red, and that is because if you see on the graph we are now using bright red on either side of the cherry, so on either side of the row, and so I didn't want my pattern to bulk up with carrying so many tails across, because the more tails you carry across, the thicker it's going to be across your row, and I wanted to keep it as neat as possible. So if you have colours either side of your work with other colours in the middle, and you don't want to carry the colours across, you can always have 2 tails of the same colour on either side, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab some more red and attach that with a slip knot and finish the single crochet with my bright red. Okay, pulling this down so that it's nice and tight, and now I'm just going to carry the white across because we don't need the dark red anymore for this row. So in the next 2 stitches I'm going to make a single crochet with the red. So that's the first, and this is the second, and this is a colour change to white. Okay, so here is what the back is looking like. As you can see, I've got 2 reds on the go now, and this just makes it a bit easier. If you notice on the graph you ever have colours on either side and you don't want to carry them across because you don't want it to get bulky, then this is always a good technique to do. So for the rest of the row now, it's just a single crochet into each stitch, and hopefully now you're kind of getting the grasp of colour changes. I'm going to come back at row 17 because there's quite a few different colours in that row, and you might just need a bit more of an explanation of the colour changes there because they're quite a bit more frequent. So yeah, hopefully at this point you'll understand colour changing, and I will meet you back at row 17. So I have now reached row 17. I'm going to start row 17 now, and I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work. So for this row we've got quite a few colour changes. The row below was adding like a pink, sorry, 2 rows below was adding a pink, so now we have quite a few colours on the go. And I also decided to basically have 2 white tails either side just to make it a little bit easier. This is optional, you can carry it across, but sometimes it is just a little bit easier to crochet your stitches and your colours where they're actually needed. Okay, so row 17, the graph tells us that we need to make 5 single crochets with white, and then we'll make a colour change in that 5th one. And this is our 5th, and I'm going to colour change to bright red, and now we're going to make 2 single crochet with the red, and on the 2nd one we're going to change back to white. And then in the next 2 stitches I'm going to make 2 single crochets with white, and I'm going to change back to bright red. Now we're going to be making 1 single crochet with red, and we're going to change to green. So I've got my green ready, I cut a piece off and I've just made my slip knot. So 1 single crochet with red, and I'm going to finish with the green, so I'm attaching the green here. Finish that single crochet off with the green. I'm going to just pull tight on the red just to make it a bit neater. Now the next stitch, there's quite a few colour changes here, so it's 1 single crochet with green, 1 single crochet with dark red, 1 single crochet with baby pink, and then changing back to dark red. So that's quite a few colour changes in a row, but don't worry, I'm going to go through it slowly. So 1st single crochet, and we're not finishing this single crochet off, so just pulling up a loop, dropping the green, and the next colour will be a dark red, so I'm picking up the dark red and finishing that off with the dark red. I'm just going to pull that down a bit. Okay, next single crochet is the dark red, so I'm going to pull up a loop like that, and the next single crochet is a pink, so I'm going to drop the dark red and I'm going to pick up my pink colour right here. See that? I'm going to finish the single crochet off with the pink like that. Now I'm going to need dark red for a few more stitches across here, so I'm going to carry the dark red across. So the next stitch is a pink single crochet, but I'm going to colour change back to purple, so that we have pull up a loop and drop the pink and finish with the dark red. Okay, so we don't need pink anymore for the rest of the row, so I'm just going to drop that and leave it. Can you see how it already getting tangles? Like, this is what I was talking about. This is why I don't like to just leave the balls of wool as they are. I like to trim because we can actually detangle this quite easily. The next 3 single crochets are going to be with the dark red. I'm going to change now to brown, so I'm going to drop the dark red and pick up the brown. Finish that. Okay. The next single crochet is brown, but we need red for the next few stitches, so I'm going to carry the red across. Picking up the red, finishing off the red. Okay. Now we don't need brown anymore, so I'm going to leave this as it is. And now I'm going to make the next 4 single crochets with red, and on the 4th I'm going to change to white. going to change to white. So I'm going to pick up my white here that I have at the back. I'm going to bring this across like that. I'm going to just stretch it to make sure that it's comfortably there. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. Okay, and I'm going to need dark red again for the next stitch after these 2 stitches, so I'm going to carry the dark red across. So for the next 2 stitches, 2 white single crochet, so that's 1 and 2, pick up the dark red, finish that one off with the dark red, and for the next stitch we'll be doing 2 color changes, so red, dark red, and then red. So single crochet with dark red, pick up the bright red, and then single crochet with red, and the next stitch is white, so I'm going to drop the red and pick up the white, finish that. Okay, now we don't need any more colors for the rest of this row, it's just going to be white single crochet. So hopefully now you can kind of see how to do multiple color changes in a row. Please take your time and don't rush. It can get a bit complicated, but I really highly recommend that you have multiple colors on either side to avoid the kind of bulkiness, and I really highly recommend cutting shorter tails. So once I have finished row 35, that's when I'm going to come back, and then I will show you row 36 onwards. Okay, so I've just finished my last row where I'm making colour changes, and that was row 35. So for row 36 to 42, it's just rows of single crochet like we did at the beginning, and then I'm just going to fasten off. So yeah, I will meet you back when I have done that. Okay, so I've just finished my last row and I ended on the wrong side. So I'm now just going to sew in all of my ends. As you can see here, with the technique that I used, I really didn't have that many ends to sew in. So I'm going to sew these ends in. I'm just going to literally weave it into the colour so that it's kind of nice and blended. And then I will come back and I will fasten off and then show you how to make the back panel. Okay, so I'm now going to fasten off, so I'm just going to chain 1 and cut the yarn. And now I'm going to make the back panel for the book sleeve, and you can use single crochet if you like to make it match, but I really can't be bothered because it takes quite a while. So I'm going to use half double crochet. You could use double crochet, but the taller the stitch you use, you won't need as many rows. So if you're doing single crochet, you'll need to chain 31 like you did at the beginning, and then you'll need to make a single crochet across the row. So you'll have 30 single crochets across the row, and then you will need to make 42 rows of that in total. However, I'm doing half double crochet, so I won't need to do as many rows. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to make a chain of 30 plus 1. And then I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into each chain across. So you should now have 30 half double crochet at the end of your row. And now we're going to be doing row 2, and row 2 is the row that you will repeat. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work, and then I'm going to make a half double crochet into each stitch across. So that's row 2 done, and now you're just going to be repeating row 2. So you'll be chaining 1, turning the work, and then 1 half double crochet into each stitch, and then repeat that. And I'm going to be repeating this until I have 29 rows in total. So I will come back when I have finished my 29th row, and then I will fasten off. I'm now going to dry block this cherry panel just so that it can match this one a little bit better. It's kind of shrunk a bit from where the stitches were quite tight, so I'm just going to pin down this panel to my carpet with some sewing pins or dressmaker pins, and then I'm just going to, with a hairdryer, just go over it with a warm setting, let it cool down, and then unpin it, and then hopefully it should be a little bit more of an even panel, and it shouldn't curl as much. And then I will show you how to attach the panels. So here is what the cherry panel is looking like now that it's all blocked. I know that these edges are a little bit messy here, but as you can see, it just lays a lot flatter. And now I'm going to show you how to attach the panels together. So you want both of your right sides facing upwards towards you, and then you're going to bring them together like this so that they lay flat against each other like that. Your border colour, I'm going to be using pink for this. I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to attach the slip knot in the corner of both panels. So I'm going to attach both panels on the hook like so, and then attach and chain 1, 2, just bring that together. So now I'm going to make a single crochet in the same spot. I'm going to weave that end in as I go, and then I'm going to make a single crochet into each space all the way down. So the next space that I see is going to be here, right there. So I'm going to insert the hook right there, and the same spot on the other side as well. And then I'm also going to weave this end as I go and make a single crochet. And then I'm just repeating that all the way down into each space that I see, making a single crochet, and then in the same spot on the opposite side, a single crochet. So I'm going to continue this all the way down to the corner, and then I'm going to show you what to do once we get to the corner. Okay, so I've just single crocheted down to this corner. Once you reach this corner, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to make a single crochet in the exact same spot. So you should have technically 2 single crochets in that spot. And then I'm just going to continue single crocheting across the bottom, and then once I reach this corner, I'm going to make a single crochet, a chain 1 and a single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet all the way up to the top. And then once I reach the top, I'm going to single crochet around this border. So I'm going to stop here and then single crochet across here all the way around, and then I'll just slip stitch back to the beginning and then fasten off. So I will meet you back once I have fastened off. So I've just finished doing the border, and now I'm going to sew it, sew the tail onto the inside of the book sleeve. That is the book sleeve all finished. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up, and if you have any ideas of what you'd like me to make next, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!